So on the latest episode of Stuff I See While I'm Biking, I'm actually not biking, I drove out here, but I'm still kind of winded, oddly. But nonetheless, here on Hine Road, it's only about 10 or 12 miles from the first lime kiln. There's another lime kiln right here in New York, which is kind of pretty cool right here in central New York. So I did some refreshers on the lime kilns because it's been a while since I've actually even thought about them. As you could probably tell from the inarticulate nature of the last video I did. But the lime kilns, you'd fill them up with coal, you fill them up with limestone, and then you burn them, and that changed the limestone into something called quicklime. And quicklime could be used as a fertilizer to raise the pH of soil in your farm. So if your farm was sitting on granite bedrock, the acidity of the soil was going to be really high. The limestone turned into quicklime lowered the pH, allowing you to grow crops on land you couldn't grow crops on. And that had been known for like a billion years. It wasn't until about the 1300s that coal became cheap enough that you could actually burn limestone. And that's all kind of interesting, but it's not fascinating. What's fascinating is when you take quicklime and you add water to it, and now suddenly you get a different composition called slacklime. And slacklime is really interesting stuff. So you take limestone, it looks like a white rock. You turn it into quicklime, it looks like a white rock. But you add water, and it creates this like chemical change in it that sizzles and pops and breaks apart and creates intense heat. And when you're done, you get this paste. It's like a white paste that you can use for all sorts of stuff. And you can use it for, let's look inside here. It looks like this has been filled up. And there's probably a reason why. These things were actually kind of dangerous. What would happen is that when they were burning these, homeless people, vagrants, people who were traveling and stuff, and they were stuck outside, they would come and sleep by the tops of them because they were hot, and they'd burn for days, and they'd create these like noxious fumes that came out of it. But they were warm, and so you might sleep next to one, and then when you're rolling around in the night, you could roll into them, drop down onto the flames, be burnt to death. There's no way to get them out. Look at that, that's really high. The stones go all the way to the top, as they say. So they filled these things up oftentimes after they were done using them. You didn't want people falling in, idiots poking around like me right now, trying to get to the top, breaking a leg. Wait, it's up the top. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh. Yeah, when you loaded these up, you layered the coal and the limestone in chunks. The air had to get through it. Look at that tree. What kind of tree is that? Cypress tree or something. Redwood maybe? I don't know. Yeah, so anyways, the quicklime would sizzle and pop. It'd get super hot. And so there are stories of farmers loading up quicklime to take to their fields, to fertilize their fields, to change the pH. And they get out there and they get ready to start shoveling it off into the field. And then it started raining. And the water from the rain would be enough to chemically change the quicklime into slacklime in the back of their wooden wagons, create so much heat it would set the wagon on fire. You'd have to unhitch your horses and get out of there. There's no way to get a ton of quicklime off the back of your wagon before it started the whole thing on fire. It'd burn right to a crisp. So you had to be really careful in how you stored quicklime. You couldn't let it get wet or else you had serious problems. So anyways, another episode down. Now I got to figure out how to get down here. It's probably a poor choice climbing up here, but anything for the sake of science.